Man, in general, it's a great career. It's provide a great living for your family. If you get in there at while you're young, stay with it. There's so many benefits, and one of the few. I mean, there's so many good things you can say about it, but one of the few trades that still has a pension. Um, we've got a lot of great benefits. The medical and dental and vision are second to none. I mean, just get in there, stick with it, work hard, work safe, especially. Pay attention when you're learning new skills. And if you get a chance to learn some of the old ways of doing things, learn as much of that as you can too, because a lot of that is going by the wayside. So that's good. But the main thing is just work safe and stick with it, and you'll do well for yourself.
Hello, and welcome to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group. I am your host, Matt Allred. In this podcast, we talk to the people whose lives and careers are dedicated to the vertical transportation industry to inform and share lessons learned, building upon the foundation of those who have gone before to inspire the next generation of elevator careers. Today, our guest is Will Fleischer, a 25-year veteran of the elevator industry. Will first got into elevators by answering a newspaper ad, and he has never looked back. Will has worked in and around Texas throughout his career in a variety of roles and companies, and he currently owns and runs his own elevator inspection company. Most of all, Will loves coaching and developing the next generation, making sure they have all that they need to stay safe and be successful. Will, welcome to the show.
Well, Matt, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, likewise. I'm pleased to have you. Always enjoy the conversations, and yeah, it's good to be able to connect. And love to start by just kind of finding out, how did you get in the elevator industry in the first place?
Well, so back in the old days, I could say that now with 25 years in the business, we used to answer ad in the paper. So I actually answered an ad in the paper and started working for a small mom and pop belt and cage manlift company in North Texas.
So some people might
And
say, what's the paper, right? The newspaper,
yeah,
right? But I mean,
yeah,
I remember
classified
those
ads.
days.
Yep, classified ads in the newspaper. Just happened. I was working at a car lot at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So just read through the paper, was looking and answered the ad in the paper, and
So they were looking for a mechanic. Is that what it was?
they were looking for a helper,
Oh,
which
wow.
yeah, and me having no experience whatsoever, I walked up there, interviewed that very day, and it turns out that one of the supervisors there knew my dad, so that kind of helped
Okay.
me out. And
Sure.
he's like, "Ah, give the kid a shot." So they hired me, and um, yeah, I never looked back. That was
And you said
April of
this was
'99.
a mom and pop. Was that like did they do commercial elevators? What were they doing?
No, so they it was a lot of industrial type stuff.
Hmm.
So power plants and grain silos, chemical plants, that kind of stuff. So industrial type areas have belt and cage man lifts.
Okay.
So like a small special purpose personnel carrier is another name for them, like a small, just a cage elevator where you push the button and hold it the whole time to ride up or down. And then the
Gotcha.
other is a continuous belt that you just basically, there's holes in the floor, the continuous conveyor belt that's vertically oriented. You walk up and there's a handhold and a foot, and you just a footstep and you step on it and hold on to the handhold and up you go.
That sounds scary as heck. I mean, I'm
You
not
know?
familiar with that, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Especially the first couple of times you get on one, it's a little creepy. Yeah, no
so
kidding.
you just jump on a conveyor belt and does it slow down? I mean, when you get to your floor, or do you just got to
No,
bail?
so there's a rope pull on the side that you use to turn it on and off, but there's sensors. So for instance, there's hoods on the floor openings. So if
Okay.
you're leaning out to one side and you bump the hood, there's a like a mercury switch in there that
Try to keep
would
you in
trip.
there, or
Uh-huh, yeah. And it'll turn the unit off actually. And then there's over travel switches like you would have on an elevator, only it's well, probably more akin to what you would see on an escalator where the step roller comes in and punches a switch and turns it off. There's several safety mechanisms on it, an over travel bar. But yeah, they're a little sketchy. Not gonna lie.
did you work on rack and pinion as well? I hear that term, and
Yes.
okay.
Yes, actually. Uh-huh. Yeah. In fact, I can remember one on the side of a grain elevator in Corpus Christi that was really tall that I had to work on from time to time. Yeah, I worked on a couple of those.
So that's how you
And
got started, and you say as a
uh,
helper, so you eventually became, I guess, a mechanic, or what was your progression there?
yeah. So I worked as a helper for several years on doing that, and then moved into the passenger elevator side of things, doing construction. Started out as a helper there, and just kind of worked my way into a mechanic. Did a lot of government contract work and stuff. I started out non-union,
Yeah,
so government contract work all over the country, just kind of following the work wherever it
gotcha.
was
Lots
at.
of travel then. Yeah.
Yeah, construction, modernization. Yeah,
What were some of your early learnings and things that, I mean, it sounds like it was a whole new world for you. What were some
yeah.
of the things that light bulbs going off or just learning to survive in this world?
Yeah, well, I mean, pretty quick, and as a young man raising a family, pretty quick I learned that I can make a pretty good living doing this if you work hard and sometimes you have kind of have to follow the opportunities where they're at. So
Hmm.
that's what I did. I learned to live on a little bit, and you're having to move around and stuff. It takes a lot to do that. Also learned
Yeah.
how to write off moves on taxes and just capture every benefit that I could along the way. And yeah, finally got enough of all that moving around stuff. And so we moved back to the Dallas area in 2006, and I started to work for Schindler then.
Okay.
And then I had to go through the NEEP school because I didn't quite have enough time in the trade for them. Because I guess if you have 8 years, they'll basically give you a card
Okay. Like a
as a
CET
mechanic
then.
because you have,
Okay.
yeah, you have the on the job hours. I had 7 years,
Oh,
so
wow.
they gave me a big stack of books and said, "Here, you can test out in 40. You got 40 days. Study all this. You can test out of
Mm.
2 years." With your experience. So I did. I sat for the exam, both exams at the same time and passed them after studying my butt off. And and then I went ahead and took 2 years of the school. Within a year, about a year, I was set up as a TM doing
Okay.
mods. So they had me doing hydro mods on my own with a helper, and so that was great. And then once
Yeah.
I got my mechanics card and passed the test, man, you couldn't stop me. I
That's
got into the
awesome.
service. Yeah, I got into the service department about that time and just loved it. And it was
So,
great.
so you, I mean, that seemed like it really hit a spot for you. But prior to that, I mean, did you feel like you kind of hit a groove? I mean, you ever look back and think, man, I want to go back to the used car lot or,
No, not the car lot, no. But there's times where I've thought about picking my tools up again. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. So that kind of neatly segues into the next phase of my career where I went into the business side of things. So I was in modernization and service for better part of 7 years, and
yeah,
decided I wanted to learn the business side of things, kind of open up that part of my career, and just learning a whole new thing. It's a career change. I mean, it's the same industry, but you go in the office, it's a whole different game.
so
So,
when you said learning the business side, was that what it was? You moved from being on in service in the field, using your tools to
mhm.
more of a like a superintendent role?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Superintendent operations manager. Yeah. Yeah. So went to work for well, it's TKE now. It was ThyssenKrupp
Hmm.
back then. Um, Went to work for them and started in Tulsa as a service, repair, and modernization
So another move, right?
operations
Sounds like you
manager.
went to Dallas and then back to,
Uh-huh.
okay,
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, my career's bounced around a little bit, but I can honestly say it's just because I was following a trail. I mean, if there was a better opportunity, I didn't mind jumping up and going after it.
sure.
But yeah, so ended up there for a little while, and then was back in Texas. And then they called one day and said, "Hey, do you want San Antonio? It's a graded branch. It'd be a great opportunity, kind of the next step for you." And I was like, "Sure." So ended up down there, and and had some changes in my life. Ended up moving back up to the DFW area, and was doing inspecting for a while, and now I'm back as a superintendent. So
So
it's just been
you,
full
uh,
circle.
yeah. So you actually, ran your own business as an inspector for
Uh-huh.
what, a few years, 2 or 3, 4?
Yeah, 2.5 years. Yeah,
Okay. What was it
almost
that
three
led
years.
you kind of that direction? Did you need to get out of the field or out of the office or?
Yeah, so not necessarily needed to. I had some family things that came up, so basically that's what moved me back to the DFW area.
Okay.
So there really wasn't a whole lot of opportunity at that time, and I kind of waited around for about a year, and there just wasn't anything that could make a move
Gotcha.
within the company. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure out something. And that's when I decided, yeah, I had some friends that were doing inspections down there and did pretty well with it. Of course, they had been in business for years, and
Hmm.
so I thought I'd take a crack at it, and I did okay with it. That the market's pretty well represented here in the DFW area, and the cost of insurance and just everything was a little more than I think I wanted to take on as
Sure.
just a single guy wearing all the hats. So that's kind of what led me.
It's interesting you say that the market's well represented because there are certain markets around the country where I have multiple companies knocking on my door. Hey, find me an inspector, and the
Right.
inspectors I talk to are like, leave me alone. Stop calling me.
It's
Um,
feast or famine, huh?
but well, yeah, it just seems like in certain markets there's a drastic shortage. You're saying in DFW that is not the case.
It doesn't seem to be. No, no. We've got a couple of big players here that do pretty well, and I'm not going to say that there's not work out there. There is. You just kind of have to
Sure.
chase after it, and um, it was a little more. I'm not going to
More
say it wasn't
chasing.
worth it, but because it was, and I learned a ton about running a business, and because I just kind of did it all. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Did
handled
you have employees or were you
I had a
chief cook and
part-time
bar
guy
manager?
that
Okay.
I had a part-time guy that was helping me out a little bit here and there, but for the most part, it was me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I handle all the bookkeeping, the paperwork, everything. So, you know,
Yeah, no, it's
um,
interesting because I think in Texas, and from what I hear at least, Houston, I think is the only city that has their own city inspectors, and outside
right.
of that, everything else is like third party. And as we talk about it, there are when I mentioned the markets that have a shortage, it's typically those markets that have some higher criteria. So maybe you don't necessarily get people flowing in and out as much and saying, "Hey, I got my QEI, I'm ready to go to work." It's like, no, you got to stand in line, and sometimes it may take a long time, and so it
Mm.
can can make it feel like there's a shortage. I guess so. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. So a lot of times, or at least speaking from what I've seen here in Texas, guys retire out of the field or the office, and it's a good way to continue being active, being
Sure,
in the industry. And I think it's a good thing because a lot of guys, unfortunately, when they retire, I mean, their health just kind of starts going south. And
sure.
so if they can do something to keep themselves going and keep moving out there, then and they enjoy it, make a little money, and it's good. So we see a lot of that in Texas, or at least
Well, and I
that's been
think
my experience.
yeah, certainly for union mechanics,
Mhm.
inspecting is something that doesn't you know isn't a threat in any way. You're not going to be at risk of losing any kind of benefits. Whereas if you were to move to a non-union shop or consulting, or there's certain things that it's like,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. You kind of have to be careful with some of that stuff, especially going. Yeah, you don't want to go to work for the non-union stuff anyway. But yeah, um, the inspecting thing gives them some freedom, and I think it's good.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
So you said you recently started again with Kone. What was it that
yeah,
kind of led you back to the majors, or did you look at some smaller shops as well, or
yeah, I did. Just so they like to promote from within, which is I completely respect that.
yeah,
So they're just the opportunity hasn't been available for a smaller shop, and it's not to say, that I may or may have not have done something that way, but the Kone opportunity came available, and it's like a small mom and pop shop in a big company. They're kind of one of the last companies
cool,
that's still playing the game that way, and I totally respect that. And so I've had just the best warm welcome, and it's been great.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So what would as you look at your career, you said 25 years, you've done a whole lot of different things. And what would you say to those who are listening today about your career or elevator careers in general?
Man, in general, it's a great career. It's provide a great living for your family. If you get in there at while you're young, stay with it. There's so many benefits, and one of the few. I mean, there's so many good things you can say about it, but one of the few trades that still has a pension. Um, we've got a lot of great benefits. The medical and dental and vision are second to none. I mean, just get in there, stick with it, work hard, work safe, especially. Pay attention when you're learning new skills. And if you get a chance to learn some of the old ways of doing things, learn as much of that as you can too, because a lot of that is going by the wayside. So that's good. But the main thing is just work safe and stick with it, and you'll do well for yourself. Absolutely.
Absolutely, absolutely. And well, and it seemed like you, I mean, you obviously took opportunities. You said I was kind of following a path, kind of, learning new things and new places, new people, new things. But it does seem like you've got, within yourself kind of this set of tools, that knowledge, experience, where you can kind of write your own ticket a lot of different ways, right? You have a lot of options when it comes to where you want to be, what you want to do, um, which is, I don't know. I think that's a great spot to be in, just to have that many options.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. I could definitely go a bunch of different directions. So I can say I've enjoyed the trip that I've had. I'm really looking forward to the future, and um, yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And you've kind of, I guess the next question I was going to ask is, the advice you would give to somebody that's new or starting out, but you've kind of already answered that. But what I guess what I want to say is, where would you like to end your career? You've and not just location wise, but
Yeah.
what do you see yourself doing?
Man, good question. I think one of my favorite things, especially about being on this side, is coaching and developing the next generation that's coming up. So we had a fresh helper, I mean, just brand new, come in the other day and just start his first day, and it was good getting to see that, and it's a different feeling from 10 or even 15 years ago when I'd see a helper come in. It's like, okay, here's another one, let's go. Now it's, hey, I want this kid to succeed, and so I think the coaching and developing side of it for me is the way going forward, and bringing up the next generation, teaching them how to do things right and how to do it safe. I would have to say that's probably where I see myself going from here.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like the mentoring, the coaching, the development you're providing is a different from what you received 25 years ago?
To some degree, yeah. Mechanics were a little harder on us, I think, back then. So, if you didn't show up at 7 a.m., you were there at 6:45. You had the gang box open at 7 a.m., tools laid out ready to go. You had your pencil, your tape measure, and your pocket knife with you at all times. And, that's just the way it was. And I think, the way the industry is changing a little bit, I think there's still that same spirit involved. It's just maybe aimed in a different way. Um,
Sure, sure. Well, and that might be generational. It's you
uh-huh.
go back a few and
Yeah,
there's just kind of a harder way of dealing with people,
for
and
sure.
maybe we don't need to be as hard as we used to be. So
Right. The generation before me, I mean, I heard stories of guys saying that, helpers didn't even eat lunch with the mechanics. Like, you sit over there and I sit over here, and I'm glad
I've
it's
heard
not
some
that way
stories.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Some of those old timers were hard.
Yep. Yep. Well, Will, what else would you like to share before we end?
Um, no, just recap. Definitely, if you get in this industry, you won't regret it. Assuming you get in, you work safe, you work hard, you get out there and make it happen. You'll make good money. You'll do well for your family. So, it's been good for me. Hopefully, it'll be good for you too.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for being on with me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, glad to be here for sure. It was fun.
Likewise. Yeah. And good luck to you as you continue to build your career and start on your next journey.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group, a leader in elevator industry recruiting. Please visit our YouTube channel at Elevator Careers or check us out online at elevatorcareers.net. Please like and subscribe, and until next time, stay safe.